Cut
Oh,
that out. Cut that out. That's got to go. That has got to go.
uh. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the First4LCFC podcast. With just two of us tonight, actually. Just me and Ed, the originals. Jamie and Austin, unfortunately, can't join us. But nonetheless, we'll blag our way through somehow. So, how are you, Ed?
I'm looking forward to an evening of blagging.
I do feel like Jamie puts a lot more preparation into this. It's fair to say we're going in note free, but nonetheless, it feels like an apt podcast to go in note free, coming off the back of a 5-2 away win at Man City. So obviously, we both watched it. Um, our emotions have sort of died down since Sunday. So, in reflection, how do you feel about the game and the result, Ed?
Um, well, I said it. We sort of had no chance last time, didn't I? I said uh, it was a bit of a free hit. If we get anything, then it's amazing. So, kind of got a bit of egg on my face at the moment. Um, because obviously we did very well. With that being said, after like the first 5 to 10 minutes, I was very concerned about the match. I thought they started very good, but then I don't know what happened really. They sort of lost it, and we capitalised and ended up completely turning the game on its head and getting a very much well-deserved, you know, win by 3 goals away, scoring five at the Etihad.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess you sort of summarised it for those who may not have watched the game. I guess you summed it up perfectly there. But what was interesting to me is how a team can go with so much control in a game and then just get so exposed. I mean, I guess it's a criticism of Pep Guardiola, and it has been sort of in the past. And obviously, you've had players like Rodri since coming out and saying, we don't play football and stuff, but. I think I have to agree with you in terms that it was concerning. Even what was it like? 20 minutes in, it just looked like we were getting played off the park. It was only a matter of time before there was
Steamrolled.
the only matter of time before they scored a second. So um, I don't know. Like there was a lot of criticism on social media, wasn't there, of Brendan Rodgers' team selection? So do you think Brendan can honestly say that was his game plan, just to sort of absorb as much pressure and then hopefully capitalise upon that?
Well, I certainly don't think we went all out attack from the off. It's kind of tricky because obviously we're now seen as like a nice attacking proper football side who plays well, but then when you play against the mega teams, a team like Man City who plays the way they do, or Liverpool, or not that we've played them, but someone who plays Barcelona style, if we go there like we normally are, we would get thrashed unless there was like an issue, like they played really poorly. So we do have to go for a different setup, especially given we're missing some of our key defensive players. But you're right. A lot of people were very concerned when they saw Amati in the starting lineup after God knows how long.
I mean, he is one of the players that you have on record, criticised. So I mean, it's interesting. See, well, Amati and Mendy both, who, in my opinion, put in solid performances. So I mean, I'm going to give you the platform to now maybe potentially eat your words, at least for the 90 minutes they
I don't know.
played.
Have you seen them very handsome photos of Mendy looking very suave doing the
I was going to
rounds?
say,
The black
whoever the
and white.
social media, the social media admin at Leicester has definitely delved into the. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure where that photo was
Look at
taken.
that. Yeah, very
Enjoying a little
French.
latte in some sort of French style cafe. But yeah, I mean, you put in a 9 out of 10 performance, and I guess that's the sort of treatment you get these days. So,
Well, I'm not going to eat my words on him because I still don't think he's there. But it doesn't matter whether he's going to be, a long-term Leicester City person fighting out for a starting place, because if we're talking purely on his performance against Man City, then you can't fault him coming back. Yeah, maybe it wasn't a 10 out of 10, sure, but coming back from where he's come from and then being part of a solid defensive line against one of the best attacking teams in the world, it's nice. Well done.
I mean, that's about as much praise as we can expect from Ed right now. But
You did your job. Well done.
It's interesting though, because I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I expect him to play like that, because even before the match we were speaking in the group, me, you and Jamie, and I was saying he's going to have the game of his life for us to sort of give him any credit. But it's interesting because I watched the game against Arsenal in the week in the cup where we got knocked out, and he looked shaky. Like I don't know, he just didn't fill me with confidence. But can you put that solely down to just the lack of game time, or? I mean, maybe we are unfairly judging him because when he first came to the club, he wasn't exactly getting a fair run out in the team. So, I mean, is there potential for him, potentially playing a vital role for us at the back this year, even, coming off the bench, or do you just simply not see him featuring?
Look, he did well. I'm not going to critique his performance. He did really well, but long term, and I'm sure we'll touch on new defensive signings later, but he's not going to do it. And there's not an issue with him. He's sort of missed his chance due to unfortunate injuries. He's probably not going to see his way into the first team here anytime soon. So maybe this is a chance to put him in the shop window, either for now or for.
You're not messing around. You're trying to shaft him. He has one good game, and he's trying to sell him on. If that was Brendan's thinking, which I highly doubt it, he did a better job of it than putting himself in a shot window than graded against Arsenal. But
no, what I'm saying is, if he's happy with being a squad player, then there's worse options to have him round as like a fifth choice centre back, or like just a utility player who's happy to come in and play wherever for the cup games, because we are going to play a ton of matches this season and we will get injuries. So if he doesn't mind being on the bench in the Prem for the odd game and then playing in the cups, then he's a good player to have someone who can play in a few positions. But there's just, unless there's serious injury, what's his positions? Like defensive mid, is he going to replace Ndidi? No. Is fullback? Is he going to replace Ricardo or Castagna? Yeah. No. Centre back. Is he going to replace Soyuncu, Evans, or Fofana, or even? Well, he's obviously ahead of Morgan now, but still, is he going to replace them? No. No
so
matter
are
what he
you
does.
Generous enough to place him ahead of Wes Morgan?
Well, I can't remember what the bench was against Man City, but was Morgan on the bench?
Well, it's an interesting point actually. With our lack of agenda tonight, you've opened up
Google.
You've opened up a can of worms there, because I like looking at benches before a match starts, and for once, like looking at the two benches, if we had like a 7-a-side game, I think we'd give Man City a run for their money, and it's not often you can say that, but Man City had Delap, Doyle, Palmer, Stefan. They're all youth team players on their bench. So obviously that's another thing though. Their squad, whilst it's a wealth of riches, was hit by injury. So say they even had an actual proper centre forward in their team, do you think it would have been a different story? And do you think they'd have closed chances out early doors, or did we just not let them play that way?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, especially when they went 1-up, if they had their full team, I don't think they would have fallen apart. But then there's many sayings about if somebody had something, then etc.
Well,
I won't say it. Morgan wasn't on the bench, by the way.
No, I'm just looking now.
Christian Fuchs, didn't he come on and play centre back?
It's an interesting point.
Because if they would be full strength anyway, we beat who we played against. Maybe they were in front
of you. That's another saying that you can throw into the mix.
Do a few sayings, yeah.
But interestingly, because obviously you're mentioning where can Amati play, where is he going to be second choice ultimately? A debate I was following closely on social media was that when Ricardo comes back, is it conceivable that he just goes into the team as a winger and then we make room for Castagna, Justin, and Ricardo? Or do you just see it being just
Justin
how we
out.
thought it'd be with Castagna and Ricardo?
I think you say, look at Justin and say, you know what, mate, you've done all right. Well done. See you in a few weeks for the cup game.
I mean, it's ruthless, and
Yeah,
you know,
no, but you got to be A, and B, he's shown he can do it, so he's going to be more confident. For lest we forget, in like literally like a couple of days, there's going to be the Europa League draw. We're not going to have. He's going to get plenty of game time this season. Even when everyone's fit, he's probably going to get like 20 matches. So if he plays loads, to some extent, it doesn't really matter. Does it matter for his development if he's playing loads in Europe and in the cup, but lesser in the Prem? I don't know. I'd say game time is more important than anything else, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Obviously, if we do go with 5 at the back against the bigger teams, he's shown he can play at centre back anyway, so maybe we drop a Marty at a later date and play Justin, Castagna and Ricardo in defence.
yeah. I mean, we got called negative Nancy's. Well, actually, I think it was pointed at you
Ah,
on Twitter earlier in the week. I forgot who it was, but shout out to that person. But ultimately, I am going to be a bit negative about Justin.
Nancy.
For me, he is a weak link in us going forwards, and yeah, it might be a bit of a strange thing to say, but ultimately, in the modern game, these wing backs they're just as important going forward as they are sort of defending, especially when you play 5 at the back. But for me, Justin just seems a bit hesitant. It's a bit of a weird thing to say because we just sort of sold Chilwell for quite a good sum of money, but they share that similar trait in the final third that they just come across a little bit hesitant. And it might have been a criticism I would have pointed at Harvey Barnes last year as well. That he's all well and good. He takes on a player, but he gets into that final third,
You
and
can
there's
tell
just no.
Jamie's not here as soon as you get a chance to slay Harvey Barnes.
I mean, we are ruthless. I mean, I guess this will actually test if Jamie actually listens to the podcast. I mean, who knows? He might not. He might actually detest it. But for me, I don't know. Justin isn't the end product. So for me, yeah, he does need game time. And I personally wouldn't feel comfortable with us playing all 3 of them on the pitch at once because I just feel that it's sort of a bit of overkill and it would sort of ruin the balance. But that's my opinion. But yeah, I don't see that happening.
Right, a
And
few points. A few
yeah,
points. A, it was negative Nelly
okay,
on Twitter. B, it was Rich Kinnaird,
okay.
uh, your
Definitely
friend.
listen to the podcast.
Yeah. And C, yeah, maybe it would be overkill, but he's an option if we do get more defensive issues to say, even if we don't have 3 out and out centre backs in that position for that formation, it's good to say if we need it, we know this formation works and we know that he can play.
I forgot you and Rich do have some beef going back into the tail end of last season. Actually, obviously Rich's comments have stuck with you this time, so fair play. But no, obviously moving on. At the time of recording this podcast, we have just seen the news officially on the Saint Etienne Twitter page or social media streams that Wesley Fofana is now a Fox. So this is our instant reaction to that. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't know anything about the kid, and that he is still a young man, 19 years of age, I believe. So
Good age.
a rumored 40 million euros with add-ons for a player who's only made, I think, 40 top-tier appearances in France. How are you feeling about this, Ed?
Um, I'd be lying if I knew a great amount about him. Wesley Fofana to me is he not a French rugby player? That's what I thought of when they first said the name. So yeah, that's how much I know. But obviously, to spunk this amount of money on a young defender is obviously very highly rated. And whilst we've had a few misses with young players, we've also had a lot of hits. So he's been first choice at a good French side, youth international. I assume he's going. Yeah, he probably won't be first choice, but let's not pretend Johnny Evans is a young man. He's going to get rotated for, again, European and Cup games, so maybe he will be the eventual successor to Evans. So I quite like the idea of getting someone who is a highly rated youngster to play backup rather than sort of a solid hand.
I mean, I can only hope that the Leicester recruitment team have done more research into him than me typing his name in on YouTube. Because whilst his defensive skills and tackles videos in HD quality, supposedly, are a great watch. I think you can make anyone look like a good player. I think if they took clips of us at goals back in our uni days, I think we could get a trial at Leicester City, but then it's the other 95% of the stuff that they don't
Put
see.
yourself down.
Yeah, it's a miracle how we never actually made it, and here we are still plugging away in our full-time jobs. But I don't know. For me, it is great, but at the same time, I always wonder if a player is this good, why are more teams not in for him? Because as far as I'm aware, it was just us and West Ham, and that's probably one of the best teams you ever want to be up against, because you're going to outbid them. But it maybe is a compliment to our recruitment team that we do unearth these gems. But how much can you judge a player who's barely played at top level? Like, this has to be a signing based purely on potential. So this is a question you're going to have to sort of guess the answer to. But what, do you just see him slipping straight into the team, or how's he going to become integrated in at Leicester City?
I'd say he's going to be the substitute centre back. Like, simples, really. There you go. There's my answer. Next.
I mean, I guess I asked for that because obviously we don't play three centre backs, week in, week out. Typically,
Well, a lot of people have made that suggestion now, have they not? That now we've got two flying wing backs who can create so much that maybe the fact we're also short on wingers means that the five at the back is an option worth considering.
I think judgments like this are a bit of a rush of blood to the head, in my opinion. Yeah, we've just come off the back of a fantastic win, and then obviously we are going to preview West Ham a little bit later on. But I just feel like it doesn't mean we're suddenly going to score 6 past West Ham. Typically see in games like this that there's a bit of a drop off in sort of those levels. So just because the wing backs have started the season fantastically, but I wouldn't want to see us switch to 3 at the back, because I do think it invites a lot of pressure on as well. Something you did touch upon there was our lack of wingers, but lest we forget, we have signed. Let's just refer to him. I think Django was Django Under.
Definitely not pronounced Under.
But do you like Rich Kinnaird? He came in with a question. Ultimately, do you think that he gets straight into the team against West Ham? I think Austin's in the same boat as him, as Rich. Sorry, saying that he does. I'm disagreeing, but what do you think?
There's no chance he gets in the first team. Like, well, he might be on the bench, but like, we just won 3 games in a row. He's not acclimatized to the system. We're in form. It'll be a bit silly, surely, if we bring players in now. Like, stay to what we know. Harvey Barnes is playing well. Start him. Perez has been the man out wide for the other games. Start him. Simples.
It's an
Don't change winning formula.
I agree with Barnes, but Perez, his place is a bit dubious. I mean, I don't think he will start, but not because I think Perez is a better player. I think it purely like what he said at the start was that he can't be anywhere near. He's not played any minutes this year, has he? I'm not sure if he played for Turkey in those games pre-season, as it were, but he can't be anywhere near match fit. I've not seen. There's not even been any pictures of him in training or anything. To be fair, got no idea. Was he not meant to be isolating or anything as well? So
I've not kept tabs on his COVID status.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you get up to in your spare time, but presumably it wasn't that, so that's fine. And just to wrap up the chat in terms of the Man City game itself, a player a lot of people sort of rave about is Phil Foden, but he had a very quiet game. For me, it's a mix of obviously we kept him quiet. Mendy did a very good job of that in the middle as well, but I mean, it's going off topic a bit, but do you think the stuff that happened away at England might have, scuppered his opening to the season a little bit? Do you think that might be playing on his mind? If you've been caught cheating on the mother of your child, do you think that would affect your performance in the Premier League?
He's a young man, and he's gonna do stupid stuff, and that was very stupid. But I don't know. I don't think it probably affected him that much. I think when you're in that environment and there's all these professionals around you, he's just going to get his head down and get on with it. Because if he lets it affect him, then he'll be out of that Man City team very fast, given all the options they have in his position. I just think, I think he's a brilliant player, and I think he's going to have a great career. But like with most players when they're young, they're not going to do it every week. And I think we did a very good job at keeping him and their other attacking players very quiet. So I don't think it's necessarily a reflection on him being bad. I think it's a mixture of him not being consistent enough yet and us defending well.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think the way he behaved on international duty is unacceptable. I think, we've all been young. It's just funny. It gets talked about a lot in the media. Oh, he's been young. Like, ultimately, take away the fact that he's a footballer. Would these pundits or ex-players be as quick to defend just a random geezer going away on holiday, and cheating on his girlfriend? I think sometimes that being a professional does blur the lines of what being a human is. But not to go off the track too much. I think it would have affected his performance. I think it's impossible not to. Like, in every day, if something's stressing you out at home, or it's going to affect the way you play football. I think it was a mix of things, but he was just absent in that game. I think it was about 60 minutes or so before he came off. I said to my dad, like, I didn't even know he was on the pitch.
Did your dad know?
To be fair, in and out of falling asleep during the game, he probably was just about aware. He kept waking up every time Leicester scored, so that's good. No, but someone who we need to speak about, and again, it's frustrating, he doesn't get spoken about anywhere near enough in the media. I'm an avid listener of TalkSport, and it's weird, like, since the game, Leicester have barely been mentioned. It's been how, like, bad or how Man City didn't turn up, but Jamie Vardy, like, he's literally not showing any signs of relenting. And yes, I know 2 of his goals were from the spot, but how sublime was that finish that came in open play for anyone who's
Yeah,
still...
it was just the same as what he did against Germany, wasn't it? It's one of those that you can try it 100 times, and 99 times, at least for us anyway, we'll just look like an idiot. And we're
I think
like,
you your ankle trying something similar.
pardon?
Did you not roll your ankle doing something similar?
Well, I rolled my ankle doing a few things, thank you very much. But no, it's just very. He's obviously got that down to a T, hasn't he? And it's just so much skill and so composed, and that whole build-up play for that goal actually was very good. And it's nice to know we've got a striker who can Because he's not exactly like had millions of chances this season, has he?
No, but it's interesting because the people always go on about, oh, these players, they stay back after training, and they on the youth teamers to cross 100 balls in, and they'll try these flicks. But I just don't think Jamie Vardy's that sort of guy. I think
I reckon he goes home and plays pool with a Red Bull.
Yeah, and it's needless to say that isn't aiding his near post flicks. But no, I think that the point I'm alluding to is,
angles.
yeah, no, it's not only that the finish was great, but again, it's another cliche here. If Liverpool did that, it'd be getting raved about and retweeted by everyone, and that is true to an extent because the build up was impressive. I know I think there was only 4 or 5 passes, and then that got pulled up by the naysayers as such on social media. But it was that intensity of the press that we did ultimately corner Man City into that area of the pitch, and we made Rodri look like a bit of a mug, getting the ball played in between him, and then ultimately Castagna put it on a plate for Vardy. But
he can't stop assisting.
Can we play with that sort of energy week in, week out, or because I've alluded to it already, but I'm just fearful that our levels are going to drop off when we don't expect them to. I mean, it's almost like you give an extra 10% when you're playing these big teams. So, is that something that's sustainable? That sort of pressing game for a team that have been a bit hit and miss with it. It's sort of come out of nowhere for me this season, really.
Well, is that a question or a statement?
Well, it has to work as both, really. There's only 2 of us here, Ed, so you need to answer.
I didn't. Okay, what's the question?
I mean, it'd be very awkward if we just sat here in silence, waiting for Jamie or Austin to.
There was no inflection in your voice or whatever word he said.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to treat it as a question. Is it sustainable, or do you think we bring out our A game, our A star game, as it were, against the better teams?
Well, I think we showed last season that we're quite capable of doing both the sublime and the useless. I guess the trick is keep up what we're doing now. Obviously, I'm actually quite interested in our performance levels, like, because obviously we were cack after lockdown, but if we keep going the way we're going, it does increase my confidence that we actually are in and around like the top 6 sides like full time now. And actually the end of last season was the blip, not the return to sort of baseline level. Because if you take those 8 games away, or however many it was, and just put together points and performances from last season and the start of this, other than Liverpool and Man City, it's like we're the next best, aren't we? So it'll be quite interesting to see over the next few months to what extent can we keep up this run of form.
I've detected by the inflection. Yeah, I've detected by the inflection there. That's my go to speak. But no, I do agree with you. But why I'm concerned, and yeah, sure, I'm going to be called negative, is that last season we started the season very strongly. We didn't have the European football to contend with, and and we still had that drop off. But obviously. And that was already happening before lockdown, so it's not fair to use that as an excuse. But what I'm saying is now with an increased schedule of games, which is going to start in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, the Europa League draws this Friday. There has to be a shift in our mentality then, surely, to show different element to our game to stop it from dropping off, because we've had a favourable start to the season. Obviously, Man City's a very difficult game, but is it really fair to judge after 3 games? Are we not getting carried away that we are going to mix it with the top 6?
That's negative. That I don't know. Well, look at it this way: our next 2 games, our next 3 games really, West Ham and Villa at home. Arsenal away, yeah, whatever. But then Leeds away, like they're 4 games. If we can keep our run going, and we can get wins in all of them, or even most of them, like we will have had an excellent start to the season, especially the next two games, West Ham and Villa at home. Have we ever won 5 games in a row at the start of a season?
I don't think we've ever won 3 games in a row. That was a new club record.
Well, there you go.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Good fixtures. You can only beat the teams you're against, and as proven last season, really, the runs you can go on, the confidence that gets in the team, the better the results we'll get. Because we went on that mental run and we're amazing. Lest we forget, after a couple of defeats against Man City and Liverpool, it all went tits up. So the longer we can keep this run going, the better.
yeah, again, it's hard to disagree with you, and I'm conscious that I'm coming across negative. I guess maybe it's more I don't want to get carried away, but at the same time, I'm looking at us, and maybe it's because all you hear in the mainstream media is like, the traditional top six, and Leicester aren't in the argument. But this isn't just a one-off. Like ultimately, we won the season. I mean, we did win the season. We won the league a few years ago now, but it's not like we just then sort of it was a freak. I mean, we've sort of been a top half team since then. Obviously, back in Europe this year, so there's certainly a reason to be optimistic. But now looking forward to the Europa League draw itself, I had a little go on a simulator earlier, Ed.
Okay, that's good.
Uh,
What kind?
It was just the Europa League simulator I found, and I
Oh,
tweeted it out earlier. But I was trying to desperately find a tweet. But yeah, obviously at the time of recording again, it's the teams that were put into this simulator are just predicted teams and predicted seedings. But the group I drew us out in was Roma, Young Boys of Switzerland, obviously, and
trust you
Midtjylland.
to pick them.
So again, but I was looking at that top pot of teams, and there's a lot of teams like Champions League veterans in there.
There's teams like Rome,
I drew
Naples, Benfica,
people.
Sporting, Villarreal.
I
But
mean, the point being that you wouldn't like none of those teams are teams you're going to think there's maybe an easy draw in there. But as with everything, obviously you're going to typically pot one is going to be a difficult sort of group. But then even in pot two, you could get someone. Well, again, if this is true, PSV. Dynamo Zagreb. I mean, these are all teams that have been in the Champions League. Sparta Prague, maybe not as much, but Galatasaray or Red Star Belgrade. So 10 years ago, maybe people would have looked at the Europa League and thought, it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse trophy. But for me, it picks up credibility. So, is it conceivable that we could get drawn in a group where we might struggle to get out of? And I appreciate that's a difficult question because we don't know what the group is. But I mean, do you respect the tournament, or do you think teams respect it?
I struggle to see us getting in a group that we won't get out of unless things go very wrong. I'm looking at the worst teams. Well, the best team in the fourth pot is Lille, I imagine.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
we'll
again,
beat them.
I'm not an expert of, you know, Belgian or Hungarian football, but yeah, you'd fancy.
French. They are
Well,
French.
now I was looking at yeah, I understand. There's Nice in there as well, um,
Good
but
Serbian side.
look, I'm just saying. Let's say we got something like Napoli, Galatasaray, AC Milan, who oh no, we can't get someone in pot three because we'd be in pot three, and then I don't know, someone like Nice, an average French team. You don't look at that and think, wow, we're going to walk it. So, I mean, but for me, I'm sort of up for having some big hitters because I feel like our Champions League journey was great because we got to the quarterfinals, but we sort of didn't play anyone big until we played Atleti. So,
We did well away at Porto, though, didn't we?
I mean, come on, we didn't play a first strength team there, but I'm just saying maybe not though because without fans travelling, I think does it really matter if we go to some like like big.
Celtic.
Well, I think it'd be a bit annoying if we get Celtic and we can't travel. Well, obviously, it's not saying particularly me and you, but fans can't travel. I think it's almost like a wasted opportunity. We've built up this sort of this hatred towards each
Oh,
other.
it's real rough.
So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're going to be boarding up any statues outside the ground because of any issues going on. But we'll see. Friday we'll swing around and we'll see if we do get young boys of Burn.
Carry on.
Do you not want to add anything?
Nope.
No.
No.
Happy with that. Good. Yeah. But no, I think let's as we digress from that point, we'll look forward to our next game, which is West Ham. West Ham at home. West Ham, who shocked plenty of people. I think it was a bit of a double shock on Sunday in terms of Leicester beating Man City as convincingly as we did, and obviously, West Ham put in Wolves to the sword with their manager working from home ultimately. So, but I know you're not a big fan of West Ham, so I'm guessing you're going to be confident ahead of this one.
Yeah, I'm in no way concerned. I just think we're in form, and I don't think they're particularly good. If we play to our best, I feel like this is what I'm saying every podcast now, so I can only apologise for boring everyone. If we play to our best, then we will beat them. It's that simple.
We'd like to think so at home. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how much I can sort of preview this picture. I do expect us to win. I expect us to win convincingly, but there is that thing sitting back in my mind that just thinks, how long? Maybe it's just the inner Leicester City fan in me. Just how long can these positive sort of results keep coming? Hopefully a bit longer. In terms of an actual prediction, I hope we keep clean sheet. Maybe from a fantasy point of view, fantasy football point of view more than anything. not my ultimate fantasy. But obviously putting West Ham to the sword. But no, I do expect a convincing result. It'd be nice for us to continue the pattern of scoring 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think we're going to score 6. I think I'm going to go for a comfortable 2-0. And again, for fantasy reasons, I'm going to say Castagne's going to score again, obviously, because he's a good player. But yeah, no, I think a win to 0. And let the run continue. Let us stay at the top of the Premier League. But what about you? I mean, you hate West Ham, so I'm expecting at least 8-0.
I have no hatred towards West Ham as a football team.
No, personal.
Yeah, nothing personal. But 3-0 because they're not very good.
Not very good.
Do you want me to tell you a little bit of breaking transfer news that's just appeared on my feed from John Percy?
Ooh, very reputable.
West Bromwich Albion are weighing up a move for Leicester's Islam Slimani as they ramp up their search for a striker. They're considering a bid to sign him on loan for the season. He's out of contract at the end of the year, so that's £28 million. Well spent, I guess.
I think if they're willing to take, I'd imagine he's on decent bumps at the club. If they're willing to pay at least 75% of that, I think it's a no-brainer. I know West Brom have obviously changed hands. They're not managed by Pulis, and they're not Route One. Try and play some fashion football, but notoriously they had Solomon Rondon. I'm not saying they're they are like for like. Probably Rondon is a better player. Well, he was, but
probably not anymore.
No, well, I don't know. What's he done? Was he one of the casualties of China? I'm not sure.
Well, he's currently still playing.
the president.
He's currently still playing in China, and he's doing well. So
He's doing well. He's filling his boots with money and goals. But no, yes, like I say, I still wouldn't mind him being a squad player, but it's very clear now that he's definitely not going to be a squad player at Leicester. So yeah, if someone wants to take him, I don't regard West Brom as direct rivals of ours, so I don't think his goals are going to cause havoc with where we finish this season. Yeah, it might even do us favours if he starts netting against big teams. But no, another player I know you're very fond of was Diabate, but he's left the club now, hasn't he?
Has he?
Yeah, I think he
I've
did.
literally
Actually.
missed this.
I believe Diabate has left. I may be chatting absolute shit,
Ooh.
but I think Diabate is no longer a Fox.
It says he plays for Trabzonspor on his
Exactly.
On his thingy.
Transfer market.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, ever reliable. You probably just changed that because you want him gone, you swine. But no, apparently he has gone. Another player an example of why buying young from France doesn't always work.
Yep.
Good. It's
Agreed.
good. It's 2-man podcast. We're stitching it together. You're giving me a lot to work from here. I was saying to Austin earlier because it was looking like it was just going to be me and him, but even he pulled out. He filled me with joy, and his last message to me was, "Yeah, it definitely won't be the best, but it could be entertaining." I don't think we've delivered on the entertainment front either, though, Austin. So, I mean, at least he gave me his well wishes. But no, before I forget as well, he thinks we're gonna beat West Ham 3-1 and Under's gonna score first. I'm gonna break your heart here, Austin. I don't think Under's gonna start. But
I don't think he'll be in the squad, but
no.
It's nice that he's giving us a chance.
We'll rinse him anyway, Austin. I'm sure you do listen to the end. That's how you managed to become a regular fixture on our podcast. You are a die-hard fan. But no, it's to be fair, actually, in Austin's absence, he is like an encyclopedia of Leicester City, and this is a guy who's only supported the club for about 5 years. I'm confident that he beat you in a trivia quiz, didn't he? So
no,
yes, he did.
I've not had a trivia quiz with him. Next,
Pretty sure he did. Was that me? Did he beat me?
This is what an idiot looks like.
I think he actually beat me. That is fantastic. Did he beat me though? I don't know.
He beat you.
Did he? Well, that's enough praise for him then. But no, nonetheless, I don't even know where his podcast's at.
Yeah, climb out and start back on with the podcast. Has Jamie done his prediction?
That's right. Put me back on track. Jamie hasn't done his prediction.
Do you want to share what everyone's prediction was last week, so we can?
Always very safe though, so you would have said something. You'd probably gone 1-0. Harvey Barnes. I think he was going to say Barnes every week, but no. The only person who got a prediction even remotely right or was optimistic last week was Austin. I think he said 2-1 Leicester. 2-1 to Leicester with Mahrez scoring first. So he got the result right and the first goal scorer. So he edges forward in our prediction league.
Yeah, what points mean?
But no, hopefully we're back next week reflecting on a favourable Europa League draw, a favourable result against West Ham, and potentially maybe 1 or 2 more new faces in the transfer market. Who knows? We'll see. But yes, it's been a pleasure, and we'll be back next week. See you later.